Okay, today we're going to create ourselves a little online journal. Now we'll begin with creating a table called journal. And you notice it has ID, the date and the time. It also has IP address and words. That's really the main thing, is what you're typing in. It's going to be a text field there. Now, there's going to be two programs that we need. Speak is going to be a program that is essentially the data input. So you're going to type things in a function called speak, and then you'll hit submit, and it'll go to a function called journal entry, and it'll enter those words. The other thing you want is listen. Listen is essentially data output, and so you're going to see 10 lines of code or whatever the last 5 entries were, depending on what you want. So let's first take a look at the main line of speak. Of course, we connect and have the $con. And then we say if is set post words. So if you've given me some post words, if that exists, what am I going to do? I'm going to do the journal entry. I'm going to take those post words and I'm going to send them to a function and insert them into the database. Otherwise, and with or without that, I will then have a speak function that will allow me to put some data entry. Let's take a look at that first. So there's our main line, and speak is the function that we're going to take at first. It is a web form, an HTML form. So we have form to /form. You notice I've got some stuff missing in here. That's where I'm going to put name equals speak, action equals self. I don't have a self yet. Method equals post. Input type equals submit, value equals speak. So that's my submit button here, and now all that is describing what the form's going to do. There's my self equals server PHP self. So now that means that when I hit submit, it'll send all that data right back to itself. And echo what's on your mind. That's just the phrase. And what we need is a input type equals text, name equals words, size equals 80. So there's a little text box that allows you to put some data into the system. You'll type what you want, you hit submit, and hopefully it'll then go to that function called journal entry. So that's what we've got so far. Now let's take a look at journal entry, where we're sending the words to journal entry and also the connection so we can insert it into the database. The first thing I'm going to do is add slashes to words, because if there's any apostrophes or quotes or anything like that, I would have a problem entering the data into the system. So I've got to add my slashes. And I'm getting the server IP address, getting today's date, getting the time, so I've got all that. Let's take a look at the SQL statement. Insert into journal the date, the time, words, IPADR, the IP address, values, $D, $T. I got a question mark here for the words and the $IP. Why the question mark? Well, that's going to be inputted from the user. We don't know what they'll have typed, so we want to be careful with that. So we're going to have set up our placeholder. We'll prepare the SQL, bind it to a string, and then execute it. And I can close that statement. That's all it takes to put something, some piece of data, whatever string of words you typed, into the system. So that's our speak.php file. When we go to the listen file, let's take a look at that. We'll start with the main line. We again include connect and $con, and we have listen. That's all we're doing, but we have a $n in here. Let me explain that. N equals 10. That's just going to give me 10 lines of code, 10 lines of words, that the last 10 entries in the database, in effect, the last 10 records. But I can change that. If I send along the URL, so that's the get variable, if is set get of n, then the new $n is equal to that. So if you put an n on the URL, n equals something, instead of being 10, it'll be whatever you put it equal to. So that's how that's going to work. Now let's take a look at that function called listen. Has $con and $n, because n is the limit of how many we're going to have. So the SQL is select the date, time, words, IP address from journal, order by ID descending. Okay, so it's the most recent ones, order by ID descending. Limit question mark. Why? Because that's the user input. We don't really know what they've typed. We do hope it's a number, an integer. So we prepare the SQL statement and then we bind it and say, yeah, it's got to be an integer, I comma $n. So by binding that parameter, that must be an integer. Execute the statement, store the result, bind the result to $D, T, W, and IP, because that's what we have: date, time, words, and IP address. And then I have a while statement, of course, statement fetch. So it's going to put that out, and each record of information will end up being a row in a table. So we have a table row, table data, the date. Close that table data, open up table data, and have the time. Then we have a table data of IP and a table data of the words. Of course, before I put the words, I better strip the slashes there to make sure that there's no extra slash marks in it. And obviously I need a table border at the top and a slash table at the bottom for that. And that will give me my listen.php page. And so we have a page to enter data and a page to view that data.